Hello and welcome back to the Social Jar podcast, episode 9 here on the Jar. I'm joined by Andreas Georgiou and no Ryan Long this week.
No Ryan Long. Unfortunately, Ryan has stood down from the show due to other commitments within his job, and it's a shame to see him go because, as we both know and the listeners know, Ryan brings the hilarity to every single podcast, and we'll never forget Ryan, but we'll never forget the Danny DeVito Pulp Fiction section. I think that will live in our memories forever. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we're really grateful for everything that Ryan's done for the show for the first 8 episodes, but we move ahead. It's just me and you now.
It is.
Wise Man.
Yeah,
we need like a nickname. We need a duo name.
Yeah, I feel like
Geo and the Wise Man.
We've lost our Robbie Williams, and we are the Gary Barlow and Jason Orange of social media that will venture into the unknown.
I'm definitely the Barlow.
You are definitely the Barlow. His legacy will live on because as graphic designer, his fingerprints are all still over the Social Jar. He'll be doing the thumbnails and everything like that. So don't worry, it's not a completely Ryan-free zone. But whilst we're in a new setup in terms of just me and you, we've also got a new setup in terms of the theme of the pod, because we have just one topic today, which differs from the usual 3, and it's because it's a beast of a topic, isn't it?
Beast.
One that we haven't yet got our teeth into, one that I've been excited to get our teeth into, but one that we decided we couldn't really cram into a 10-minute section, so we've given it a full show, and it is NFTs.
NFTs, non-fungible tokens.
Which is a good place to start, actually, because fungible has recently entered my vocabulary and is one of my favourite words.
Go on.
Fungible.
Go on. So what does fungible mean?
So I was hoping you'd ask exactly that. So if something is fungible, it can be exchanged for another item of identical value. So if I gave you a £10 note or a $10 bill, you could give me 2 £5 notes or 2 $5 bills, and it would have the same value. Whereas something, if it's non-fungible, it cannot be replaced identically by anything else. So if you think like a one-of-a-kind trading card or the Mona Lisa. So a non-fungible token is a token that is unique. It cannot be exchanged for anything of an identical value. And I suppose that is a good place to get the ball rolling, because NFTs have really come to dominate our feeds. We've seen them all the time. And I feel like it's sort of entered the sort of cryptocurrency bracket, whereby they're terms that we use a lot on social media. And I think people are using a lot of the time, but people don't necessarily, and I mean, until I've done the deep dive and a lot of research, which I've had to do for this podcast, that I thought I understood, but now there's so much more to it than people think. So I think it's good that we get into this topic to sort of clue people up on exactly what NFTs are, because I think we can expect to see a lot more of them.
Yeah, and more specifically as well, like how NFTs sit within the social media world, because we're seeing, as we will talk on the podcast, these big platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, TikTok are now actually moving into the NFT space with their own projects and their own products as well. So I think it's definitely something, if you're not already consumed by it, wherever you're looking in terms of news and social media, it's going to come thick and fast with the development of NFTs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a good place to start then, so we've defined an NFT. The next thing is to look at what exactly they are. So they can be anything digital, really, can't they? So they could be like drawings or music or even AI. I've seen digital sneakers and stuff like that, video game skins. But a lot of the current excitement is around digital art. And that's what when you see a lot of the big trades going off and stuff like that, a lot of what people are buying are the digital pieces of art. And a lot of the time, they are quite cool. But as we will get into on the show, they tend to go for quite a lot of money. So, and the reason that is, I suppose, is because they're one of a kind, as I said earlier. So they're these digital assets which can be bought and sold like any other form of property, but unlike most other transactions, they're never actually physical. You get a sort of tokenized digital certificate, if you will, of ownership that can be bought and sold. And that's sort of the premise of an NFT. And so it's a really exciting gateway for digital, like sort of designers, creators and artists and stuff like that, because previously as an artist, you only really have like auction and places like that where you can go to sell your work, and it opens up quite an exciting opportunity for digital creators and stuff like that to sell their work in an industry where it must have been quite difficult beforehand.
Well, more importantly, I would say, Dan, is the rights holder's position within NFTs. What this does is it maintains the integrity of the product, or the, like you said, whether it's a piece of art or a music album or a single, the rights holder when used through blockchain, which is what NFT operates on, is maintained. So therefore, even if, let's use an example, Kings of Leon, for example, they release something as an NFT, they release a song as an NFT. Now, what would generally happen if you just did that as a CD or as a download? If somebody was to then sell that on again, the Kings of Leon will receive 0% of the next sale of that product. Whereas now, as an NFT, because it uses blockchain and it can track the transactions, the rights holder, the original rights holder, in this case, Kings of Leon, can actually still incur and make money from a product that continues to be sold again and again and again and again. And it's with the artwork, like you're talking about, this amazing artwork that we've seen in the NFT world. Every time it is resold, a percentage of that goes back to the original owner, which I think in terms of empowering artists is phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen not just, smaller scale artists who would be sort of attracted to this, as I said, the artists that have previously struggled to get their work out there, but really probably one of the bigger. I saw Jay-Z release Reasonable Doubt re-release it as an NFT. So it's not just smaller artists that are benefiting from this. The real kingpins of the music industry are seeing the opportunity. So it's quite cool, really. And so it's verified, as you said, by blockchain. And so, as is with real artwork, anyone can own a print of the Mona Lisa. You can get one online, you can go anywhere, you can buy it in a shop, you can buy a painting of the Mona Lisa, but only one person, or in Mona Lisa's case, one museum owns the original.
Really overrated there, don't you think?
Really? You think?
Mona Lisa.
Yeah. Have you seen it? This is where you say no. I feel like to make that statement, you're going to need to have been to the Louvre to see it. Otherwise, that's quite a statement.
You
don't really need to see it.
You don't really need to see it.
What you need to look. Not that important, is it? Really?
I mean, like, I much prefer that one, which is that screaming woman, with the fire and stuff in the background.
Yeah. What's that called, mate? The artist?
Just the name of something.
That one.
Yeah.
Good
but
one.
I prefer that one.
Yeah, me too. Me too, mate.
But the Mona Lisa, what's actually interesting, I do know some Mona Lisa facts, is that no matter where you look at it in the room, the eyes will always follow you. I don't know if that's true. I saw that on an episode of Doctor Who. I think it might be correct.
Is the Da Vinci Code thing real? Is it written in code? Do you know that?
I mean, I have no idea. Do I look like Da Vinci?
I wonder what this week's reels are going to be from. I wonder what's going to be. I wonder, what could it possibly be? I have a feeling it's going to be that tandem with the Mona Lisa. So to drag it back to NFTs, as I said, you're the owner of the Mona Lisa. You've bought it despite you thinking it's overrated. So whilst many other people, I can go anywhere and get a print, only you own the original. And that's the same, because whilst a lot of people, I think, with NFTs are saying, well, okay, you own the rights to a video. I think we first got talking about NFTs in the office when we saw Charlie Bit My Finger get sold as an NFT. And so you were sort of like, well, anyone can go online and view Charlie Bit My Finger. And it's the same principle. It's that sort of online bragging rights to say that you own the original. You have that digital certificate, so to speak, to say, and you are the original owner now. So do you think most of the NFTs are about that bragging rights, just to say that you're the guy? And I think a lot of people, and the criticism, which is going to be a section of its own later, is sort of this sort of millionaire's playground with NFTs, where it's just people buying things for bragging rights and stuff like that. How much do you think that comes into it as a sort of, if you were to buy an NFT, do you think it's just the pride of saying that, yeah, I own that as an original?
Well, I think really, Dan, actually the trend of the industry is that NFT trading is being looked at similar to crypto trading or stock trading.
Yep.
It's looking at buying something, in this case an NFT of art or of music, that would hopefully over time increase in value and therefore could be sold for a profit. And that's really what a lot of the industry is looking at NFT as. It's something to make money on. That's why when you're seeing these NFTs go for ridiculous amounts of money, you would think, why would someone do that? Because it's, the people that are buying them, they're not exactly the same kind of people that would go to, like you said, an auction house and bid on £2,000 on a piece of art. They're looking at it different. And obviously crypto trading is a big thing.
Yep.
In our modern society, and NFT falls directly under that bracket. So I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons. But also, like you say, it's the bragging rights kind of thing. Do you own an NFT? Yes or no? If you tell people, hey, I own an NFT, you immediately sound a bit suave. You sound a bit cool. And I think obviously that bragging rights are quite important. But who are they bragging to? I don't know. Other people who own NFTs.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. There is that community which you're talking about. That sort of, it feels like something that you've got to tap into. And this is why we're sort of doing this show, because we're going to run you through with exactly what you need to be aware of if you're looking to get into the NFT industry, exactly what you sort of, the different telltale signs of what you should and what you shouldn't be investing in and stuff like that. And so it is because of, I say it's a new industry. NFTs have actually been around since 2014, but it's only really, that's 12 months, would you say, that the trajectory is like sort of skewed massively upward, and they've become this thing which sort of are really taking over our social feeds, which feels like a good place to sort of talk about exactly how and exactly why we're talking about them on the social jar. We haven't gone crypto mad. There is actually some deep relevance to social media on a lot of the mainstream platforms. So if we look at Instagram, for example, they're the first one. So do you remember a little while back, I think we actually might have talked about this on the social jar, the fan club setting on stories, which is sort of similar to the close friends, which is in our stories, whereby they can only be viewed by an approved group. And what it is, it's a way for artists to get their designs across to a particular community and stuff like that, to be able to showcase their art in different ways. And that was seemingly their first nudge that they're going to be pushing sort of digital content and that the created stuff online. But next, they're bringing in collectibles, which is a definite 100% slam bam NFT push.
Yeah.
And that is where in feed, which is quite cool, they're going to allow posts to be labeled as collectibles. And then you're allowed to bid on them in stream. And that's a pretty, you're nailing your colors to the mast there. And as a, TikTok with who have announced TikTok top moments, I'm trying to say that after a few beers. Yeah. Which will see 6 culturally significant TikToks from the likes of Lil Nas, Rudy Willingham, Bella Porch, and even Gary V sold as NFTs. So these are pretty big moves, aren't they? And we'll get onto Twitter in just a moment, but those moves from Instagram and TikTok, pretty major, aren't they?
Yeah, we were looking through the list earlier of the TikToks, which are going to be included in that, and obviously some very iconic moments, including Bella Porch's M to the B, lip sync, whatever you want to call it. But it's really interesting, isn't it, that these social platforms, like we said at the beginning of the show, are starting to really push forward on this NFT front. I mean, they realize that NFTs aren't a fad. Like, anybody that thinks they're a fad, it'll be done within a year. Like, that's not the case. Will the industry look different in a year? Absolutely. There's a lot of chances right now. There's a lot of people selling bullshit, really, and that's how every single trend starts. Remember ICOs, which is to create an initial coin offering, which is basically to start your own crypto coin. 3 years ago everyone was doing it, and you could start an ICO and you could raise $20 million, and up until a couple of years back, people realized, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought it was. It's usually a scam or ill thought out, and they don't really work, on a large scale anymore. And NFTs are going to be the same in terms of every industry right now, like NBA, UFC, PFL, lots of different sports entities, lots of different entertainment entities are trying to break into NFTs alongside, social platforms. Everyone wants a piece of the pie, but who's going to be there in a year or 2 years when, money dries up a little bit, people are a bit more considerate when they're making their NFT purchases. That will really separate who's invested in this and who's going to be involved in this in the long term. But like you're saying, the collectibles tab, which has been ruined for Instagram, and the ability to bid in stream, that's a big statement really from Instagram. That's a huge statement that they're invested in this NFT culture as something that can draw people to their platform. Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned like the NBA and the UFC and how they've approached the sort of NFT industry. And I stumbled across, I got really excited. I was quite ashamed actually yesterday because I stumbled across NBA Top Shot, and I was like, oh my God, Andreas, you've got to see this. And you're like, yeah, I knew all about that. it's really cool. So you go on there and you can buy, or it's through like a FIFA Ultimate Team style pack opening. So you open packs and you get videos of NBA moments, and they can range from the really insignificant to the very iconic, and then you own the rights to that moment and you can trade and sell them and stuff like that. And it's sort of like trading cards but blown way into the future. And it's really cool, and I think that's what's going to sustain. We'd be looking at this quite differently if the likes of Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the NBA, UFC hadn't postured
themselves with the future of NFTs. But the fact that we're seeing such major corporations make quite significant changes and in some places wholesale new starts to back the NFT industry really, I think, change how we see the trajectory of it. But to go back to Twitter, and I think this is probably the most drastic, I want to say, change that's been made to a platform. So Twitter users can now change their profile pictures to any digital art that they're particularly proud of that they might want to sell as an NFT. So it will come up as your profile picture, which is pretty cool. And then to wind it back to June, we had the 140 collection, which is where Twitter posted out 140, which is obviously a nod to the amount of characters that you can include in a tweet. 140 NFTs, which were totally free. Anyone can go and download them, which obviously makes them almost worthless in the sense that, you know, anyone, they're still available now if you want to go and get one. But still quite cool that some people, whilst it might feel quite exclusive, can still go and grab one. I thought that was a pretty cool move. And some of them actually were really nice designs as well.
I hate to correct you, but I think you might be wrong from my
Oh,
reading.
really?
Yeah,
on,
yeah. Wow,
tell me.
I can't believe this moment's happening. No, I was reading about it. And so obviously they released 140 NFTs that were given to 140 users. And there were only 140 NFTs made. And in fact, one of the owners who was gifted an NFT created a union or an organization to try and control the majority of the NFTs. Because what happened was some people who won the NFT went and sold it massively below the value of what actually it's worth, which is is a very, very exclusive NFT. There's only 140 of them. And therefore that deprecated the value of the rest of the lot. So I believe, if I read it correctly, that organization currently either controls or owns 70 of the 140 NFTs.
Nice.
So quick correction.
There you go.
We bring the knowledge to this show.
Do.
The knowledge, the laughs, the humor, everything you want in a podcast. Right
I'd like
here.
to be able to, considering the amount of notes that I have on this iPad in front of me, I'd like to say I could bring the knowledge, but I mean, apparently not. Apparently not. So I want to move to a section which I think is my turn to perhaps test your knowledge of NFTs. And I have some different pieces of digital art ranging from the memes to the quite profound that I'm going to tell you. They've all been sold as NFTs. I'm going to tell you each of the things, and you're going to hazard a guess as to how much the NFT was sold for.
Please tell me Nyan Cat's on there.
It is.
Yes.
It is. So I have Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter. He's actually quite crypto mad. He recently sold his first ever tweet. You know, it's like just setting up my Twitter. It's not got no E, isn't it? So it's just setting up my Twitter. He sold that as an NFT in dollars. How much did that go for?
That's crazy how he's allowed to sell that, because obviously Twitter owned that, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's quite interesting. People didn't really see this very favorably. It's sort of like...
It seems like a bit of an abuse of power, to be honest. Yeah,
exactly that. But come on, this is a light-hearted quiz.
All right.
Come on, right?
Sorry, I'm not good. Look, I miss Ryan. I just miss him. You know, he's usually the one bringing the laugh. Okay, I'm going to guess. I'll ask one question.
Yeah.
500K, higher or lower?
Higher.
Okay. I really hope it's not $1 million, because that would really annoy me. I'm going to go for about 800 grand.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. $3 million. God. $3 million. Don't worry, that's the most extreme of the lot. But yeah, $3 million someone paid for the NFT of Jack Dorsey's first ever tweet.
But who makes the money from that? Jack Dorsey?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I know. This is the point that people are making. It's like a really sort of thing. But yeah, someone went and paid for it. And I suppose... You know, we have got some Ryan influence on the show. I was speaking to him just before we came on air about this, and he was saying that it's a gamble, isn't it? Because it's a piece of history almost, that he was saying that hopefully people will want and will sort of idolize in years to come, like, wow, that was the first ever tweet. And I suppose when you look at it like that as an investment, maybe. But yeah, he made $3 million.
That's a high ceiling though. So it's like, that's worth $3 million now. So whoever bought that thinks it will be worth more.
Yes.
I mean,
a big gamble, isn't it?
It is a big gamble.
So we have the next up is the disaster girl meme, and this is the meme where you've sort of got the burning house in the distance, and she's sort of looking quite.
Oh, I love that picture. Yeah.
So she sold that as an NFT. The girl in the photo, obviously on the right, sold it as an NFT in dollars. What's your guess?
600 grand.
Oh, close. 500.
Okay,
I'll give you
cool.
that. I'll give you that.
I'll take it.
Within 100 grand, I'll give it you.
Plus VAT.
Yeah. So the next one is Side-Eyeing Chloe, which is the one where it's the girl in the back with the buck teeth.
Yeah.
She gets told she's going to Disneyland. She pulls that really like face. That was a terrible impression of it. She's again sold it as that was even worse.
I know. I don't know why I did that.
How much did she sell that for?
I want to say that she's worth less than Crazy Fire Girl.
Yeah, you'll be right in saying that.
I'm going to guess 400.
Oh, no, I feel she's been done dirty here because that was 74 grand.
74.
That's how much, and I would say that's more of an iconic meme than Disaster Girl. I see that, you still see that all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, she got 74. I hope she's not listening to this, but because I feel like
you've been mugged off.
She has. And then the one that you were hoping was on Nyan Cat, which is the Pop-Tart rainbow. How would you even describe Nyan Cat?
Isn't it? The whole premise is that the cat is pooing a rainbow.
Yes. And it's the Pop-Tart. However, caveat, it's just the GIF. So, you know the YouTube video, it's got that really annoying... It's just the GIF, so you don't have the video.
Cool.
How much is an NFT?
It's less than Dorsey. I think higher than Fire Psycho Girl.
Yep.
I'm going to guess 1.2 mil.
Ooh, 590.
Oh, wow, really?
Low again. And this is one of the things we're going to come on to later is how...
Who the hell is setting these... that? This is what I mean. This is why NFT is a minefield, because there is no price index. It's just based upon what somebody thinks that is worth, which is why it's, at the moment, such a mind-boggling industry for a lot of people.
Yeah, and this is the first risk that we're going to talk about later, is that there's no mechanism in place to regulate the industry. So prices varying massively. So, in the course of 2020, the average price of an NFT in January compared to December December compared to January rose 2,000%, because because it's such sort of an alien industry for most people. There's no regulator. There's no person setting the price of what, and so things are going for crazy amounts, and that's why you've seen such variation. You've got the first ever tweet going for 3 million, the Side-Eyeing Chloe going for 74 grand, Zasco going for 500 grand, and you've got.
We should also add that people can't bid on this with actual money. It has to be crypto.
It has to be crypto, yes.
So it's already a volatile marketplace, because you either need Ethereum or Bitcoin or usually a well-known and well-used cryptocurrency, and therefore that's already a hugely volatile market. You add together with the NFT, which is based upon projections of what you think it's going to be worth. It's like, oh my God, crazy numbers blowing up everywhere. It's just.
To speak of crazy numbers, the highest ever NFT sale, I have it down here, it's an online artist called Beeple, he makes some really cool stuff. And so it's called Every Days for the first 5,000 days. That's the name of the NFT. And it's for 5,000 days. He made a different piece of digital art, and they're all together in sort of a massive collage. And there's 5,000 different pieces, and they are awesome. And it went for nearly $70 million. I should caveat all of this. It's $70 million worth of cryptocurrency. So it's not an exact figure, but all the prices which I've listed are the sort of dollar equivalent of. But yeah, nearly $70 million that went for. And that's the highest ever sale of an NFT. And that's what we're talking about. So, you do have prices which are fluctuating massively. And then you do also have another risk, which is the risk of fraud. And the most high profile case of this, I don't know if you saw it, but a hacker hacked into Banksy's website, the famous graffiti artist, and he put on sale an NFT. And he wished to remain anonymous. He's a British guy in his 30s. He saw this and went, oh my God, this is Banksy's first ever NFT. I've got to buy this. And so he bought the NFT for £250,000 and it was a hacker. And so he received no NFT, obviously. And this is the most surprising bit. The hacker gave him back his money.
Really?
Yeah. I think it was about 95%. So I think he kept a little bit. You'd be at that point, you'd be happy to see anything. But gave it. And so you've got to be careful when you're fishing around, because there isn't this official regulator. Even when you see stuff on Banksy's website, even when you see things on there, you do have to be careful.
Yeah, that's why there are a few NFT websites that are just the most trustworthy to use. Like Gary Vaynerchuk uses one very specifically for VFriends, which is his own NFTs. So just do your research really when it comes to where you're buying your NFTs from. It's definitely not a gum tree kind of thing.
Definitely not. Yeah, absolutely. And so, we've also touched about the sort of market unpredictability. So as is the case with really any collectibles market, whether you're talking Pokemon cards or baseball cards or even fine art, there's no predictable future for the industry. You have this isn't exclusive to NFTs. This is collectibles in general. You have no idea how things are going to play out. You have no idea what the worth is going to be like in 6 months, a year, 2 years. And it's the same with NFT. And we've seen it sort of in a microcosm this year between May and June. So on the 3rd of May, NFT sales peaked in history. So they peaked $102 million on May the 3rd, 2021 was spent in a single day. However, in the first week of June, just $19.4 million was spent on NFTs. So that's a 90% decrease in just a matter of weeks from one day to a period of 7 days. And so that 90 people got really scared. I mean, you go back and you read the news articles from that time, people are really worried that was the end of the NFT. They saw this 90% decrease. They thought it was a whole market collapse. And people got really worried. And that happened just in the space of 3 weeks. Things have since sort of leveled out, and it's sort of, I don't want to say plain sailing, but in the NFT industry, it's as close as you're going to get. And so that market unpredictably, unless we get that regulator on the NFT market, which is a difficult one to just come in and sort of install an overseeing power, you are going to see those topsy-turvy changes to the industry, aren't you?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think, like we've already kind of alluded to and spoken about there, is that with it being crypto, there is a huge amount of volatility, but also due to the scarcity of what an NFT is, like you said, it's a limited edition print, or it's only one of 100 or one of 10, whatever it is, it creates scarcity. So, people are bidding on things based upon projections, what they think it's going to be worth. So when they see something similar sold for much less than something they may have just bought, that could create a panic, or that could create them being scared. But that's a really startling figure. And I think, obviously, social media plays a big part in that, because when NFTs are within a big element of discussion going on, around different platforms, people are intrigued and they might be like, oh, well, let me go and look into NFTs. Let me see if I can purchase an NFT. I mean, and NFTs generally aren't things that you can just go and purchase, because even the low level ones are around $1,000, $2,000. There is a real value that has been given to them. But yeah, it's strange that, it's strange, but also, I guess, understandable and essentially predictable that it will, like Bitcoin, 1 minute worth, $20,000, next minute it's worth $13,000, and it's worth 8, and then it's worth 15, and it's worth 30, that's what's going to happen. And I think as long as that element of the market remains relatively unpredictable, NFTs will also, so the sales of NFTs will fluctuate in a similar way.
Yeah, I think so. And we put it to you guys. We said, what's stopping you guys from purchasing an NFT? And I think for most people, it is going to be the money, because as you said, it is a rich man's game, to say the least. And that we have one respondent on Twitter, I think, just sort of expressing his sort of angst of the industry as a whole. He's sort of, again, referencing this sort of millionaire's playground idea. But one of the things that he said was there's other elements of the industry which, you've got the environmental effects of crypto mining and that whole process, the amount of energy it takes to sort of power this whole industry and stuff like that. And so it is very much a sort of unpolished, there's a lot of changes that need to be made and stuff like that. And hopefully, I inherently believe NFTs are a good thing. I really do. I love what they can provide for artists. I think it's really cool because music artists, as we spoke about at the start, have had an issue for such a long time with the cut that they get from places like Spotify and Apple Music, how that process works. They don't believe that they're getting a true percentage of what their music is worth and stuff like that. And I think NFTs, that resale idea, the fact that as music goes on from person to person, that they will still receive the cut, which they inherently deserve. Yeah. I think there's some really nice elements to it. However, there are some parts which really need figuring out. And hopefully, with the backing of the likes of TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, those major social media platforms, these big organizations from outside the social sphere getting involved, hopefully we see some responsibility come into effect, and hopefully the good of NFTs, which I believe is inherently there, can shine through.
Yeah. Obviously, there is a very, like you mentioned, a moral dilemma with NFTs in terms of crypto mining and the effect that that does have on the environment, which is very, very true, and also something that really a lot of people should consider before just buying NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this isn't just, you know, with it being blockchain and with it being the way that it is set up, it takes huge resources, and it does have a knock-on effect to global warming and climate change. But again, as you said, the opposite side to that is, think of your favorite artists of the last 30 to 40 years. A lot of those artists are either broke or struggling for money because this industry screwed them. You know, the music producers, the record labels screwed them in terms of their money, and NFTs brings the power back to the artist. And I think that's one of its biggest selling points, and it's probably the most important things when it comes to NFT. And maybe that is another reason why people are more inclined to get into NFTs, because they know that it's going, you know, the large percentage of it is going directly to the creator, it's going to the artist. And obviously that's powerful, but it's not the only, you know, it's not the only factor of NFTs. And I think that's what more people should consider. Yeah,
for sure. And I think they need to become more accessible. I think people will still be hesitant to go and, you know, that's a lot of money to make an investment of. And so hopefully they become a bit more, you know, as I said, accessible for the average Joe, and they become something which people feel a bit safer in. I do think that they need that regulator. But this is where we stand with NFTs. I feel like that's a pretty comprehensive breakdown. Would you not agree? I think we've covered most of the bases there. Hopefully it's clued you guys up at home, and hopefully you feel a little bit more clued up as to something which we're going to see a lot more of on our social media feeds, not in terms of the conversations that people are having, but in terms of the way that those platforms function and evolve. We're going to be seeing a lot more NFT and like-minded investments from those platforms into your feed. And so, yeah, I feel like hopefully let us know in the comments if there's anything we haven't touched upon. We'd love to enlighten you guys on. Let us know on any of the social media platforms at Uniform Brand. If there's anything we've missed, we'd love to clue you guys up if we haven't done our jobs properly. But I think, as I said, I think we've done all right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially talking about NFT's place on social media.
Yeah.
Pat yourself on the back.
I think we've done all right. I think we've done all right, mate. So that rounds it up for the Social Jar episode 9, back for the first time since the 23rd of December. It's been a while, hasn't it?
December?
Not that long. September even.
I was like, whoa, nearly a year.
It's a 10-month
These
hiatus.
have flown by. They really have. It's obviously good to be back on the show, new format, and obviously lots of good stuff to come in the Social Jar world.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to give you some clout on the Mr. Number One trend in the UK over there. We went down to London, did some big work with Bellator, Bellator Europe, one of our clients, and you did really well, mate. So
I mean, I can't take all the credit as much as I'd love to. Obviously, a fantastic team that we get to work with over there at Bellator MMA. And, you know, everybody played their part in helping us get to the number one trend in the UK and the USA, our partners at Showtime and BBC iPlayer, of course, over here. The great members of staff at Bellator. And, of course, Michael Venom Page and Douglas Lima, who's, you know, really great main event, helped establish us in that number one spot. Beat the last leg, which for me is just amazing to see it trending over the last leg.
Some beautiful synergy there, because MVP does have his own range of NFTs,
if
I'm not mistaken.
He does indeed.
There you go. And just before we round off the show, very last thing, it's the Social Jar episode 9, and I'm going to look at our producer Beth, because you made a promise that by episode 10 we'd have a full set for the Social Jar.
I'm a man of many promises and many fewer fulfilled. We will see. That's all I can say. Yeah. We will see. I'm going to be away quite a bit. It's not an excuse. I don't know who I'm trying to convince here. Maybe it's myself.
Maybe yourself.
Maybe it's myself. I'm going to be away for quite a bit. So we'll see. I'd love, look, we've got the set designed. Yeah. It's just about creating it. There's a few logistical things, but we'll see. Maybe if we don't get a full set, we at least might have a few more props on this largely empty table that's extremely oversized for just two people. So we'll see.
Get there. We'll get
see.
there.
Yeah.
Guys, there's a lot to look forward to here on the Social Jar. Stay tuned for episode 10 and we'll see you next time.